I guess I don't need all that extra room for extra hot dogs and mac and cheese. Hashtag America. Hey, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about 10 negative things about living in New Zealand, things that I just can't get used to. Now this is obviously just from my perspective to give you a little peek into what it's really like to live here for us since moving from the US. Now I have a ton of great things to say about this country, but there are good and bad parts of every country. So why not look at both perspectives just for fun? Now this is a part of a series about New Zealand that I'm doing, so don't just think that I'm focusing on the negatives. I do have other videos about how great I think New Zealand is as well. Also, just a warning, the last negative point I'm making is a little gross, so just be wary of that. All right, let's get negative. The first negative thing about living here in New Zealand is the music. Yes, it is 99% American music, and that's part of the problem. I would argue that it's not the good American music, which does exist, but here they still seem to be playing American music from the early 2000s-ish. I hear it in grocery stores, shopping centers, on the radio, healthcare lounges, it's everywhere. We're talking Skater Boy, Remix to Ignition, Who Let the Dogs Out. Those songs that just wedge their way into your neural pathways after hearing them for 3 seconds, and then they're with you all day. All day. And I'm not saying this to upset anyone, but I think it's what they want to hear. Shots fired, I know. But I'd really rather risk getting a shark attack than hearing those songs again. It's just not the best decade in music we have to offer, you know? The second negative thing I've found hard to get used to is that most homes I've been to and lived in do not have dryers, like clothes dryers for your clothing. Instead, they have clotheslines. Yes, this is economical. It's way better for your clothes. Let's use that free sunshine, but only if it's sunny. And guess what, New Zealand in the winter? Rainy. That's why it's so green and beautiful. That's the secret. Plants need water. Great, but I can't dry my clothes in the rain. Right now at my house, raining every day. 7 long days. That's like a week. Can you buy an indoor rack to set up in your living room by the fire, which blocks your TV, and then you knock into it in the middle of the night, and your dog grabs socks off of it to play with? Sure. Or you can just buy a dryer. Well, just buy one then, Morgan. Well, sadly, most New Zealand laundry rooms aren't made to accommodate one, so no dice. But New Zealand is not the only country who does this. It's actually way more common than not in the world, so I get it. But boy, I miss those fresh out of the dryer socks. So cozy. Okay, get ready to call me some names. Brandon said I shouldn't put this one in, but I'm going to do it anyway and speak my truth. Number 3 is the weight system. It's not that it's bad, calm down. I know, and everyone else in the world knows metric is the best system, okay, but I just can't get used to it. I was programmed with the wrong system. Okay, so the problem is mainly in the grocery store. Now let me walk you through my journey. Come on. So I go to get some bulk nuts or something like that. Ah, I see. Just 95 New Zealand dollars per kilogram? What? I have no idea what that means. Number 1, that sounds like a lot of money. So then I have to change it to US dollars in my head. Okay, $58. That's still a lot. Okay, so then number 2, I gotta think of what a kilogram is like. So it's like 2 something something pounds, right? High school Morgan memories? I think so. And then everyone says, you just moved the decimal point. And then I go home nutless. Now I would learn. It's not that complicated, but I just don't want to. And you wouldn't either. I mean, if I asked you, how many Flimble Flanagans in 1 macaron? And then I explained to you that your 1 kilogram is equal to about 3.68 macarons, and that a half a dozen bunch of coconuts is equal to just 1 Flimble Flanagan. So what color are those coconuts? Yeah. Nah, I've decided I'm going to start doing that conversion when I start dreaming in a Kiwi accent. Although I do dream driving on the left side of the road, so that's progress. Moving on to number 4 is just personal to me. It's not a bad thing. It's just something I noticed last year when I ordered a swimsuit here. I am the biggest size they had. Yes, I do believe New Zealand sizes are smaller than US sizes, as are in most countries, but I just thought, gee whiz, if I needed a bigger size, I would be plumb out of luck. I'm sure there are plenty of big box stores out there that would have bigger sizes, but I went to a swimsuit specific store, so that was inconvenient. I think I'd better just do some shopping when I go back home for a visit sometime. Number 5 negative of living in New Zealand is the amount of hard alcohol you get in those fancy cocktails when you order them at a bar. The size of a shot glass here is half the size of those in America, which would be fine, but they cost the same too. Not fine. And it's a little bit odd because you still get the same amount of wine or beer in a standard drink, but for some reason hard liquor rules are different. Actually, cocktails I found to be much more expensive than beer or wine. I don't know what that's about, but it's just a good thing to note. If you visit, ask for a double shot to get what you'd expect in the United States. By the way, if you enjoy this kind of content about New Zealand and my healthy journey to starting a family, pretty please subscribe to my channel, would you? I can't tell you how much it helps support me and will let me keep making videos for you. Number 6 is that not many cars have cruise control. Now this is not a big deal, and it does make sense here as the roads are very twisty and turny and there are not a ton of straight highways like they are in the States. But when we bought my car, it was something that we really wanted and just wasn't available. I do know New Zealand gets most of their previously owned cars from Japan, so maybe that's a thing there too. I don't know, is Japan twisty and turvy? Next is number 7, which is going to sound like a super American thing to say. I mean, I guess this whole list probably sounds that way, but hey, that's kind of the point, right? It's the size of the fridge. The standard size here is drastically smaller than the ones we're used to in the States. I guess they don't need all that extra room for extra hot dogs and mac and cheese. Hashtag America. Speaking of refrigeration, we found after moving to a new town that you actually take your fridge with you. This I found pretty annoying because of just the obvious hassle of having to move a heavy appliance and the fact that the space for the fridge varies slightly, so you're kind of stuck with whatever size the previous tenant had, unless you want to do some construction. Taking other appliances like washing machines are also common, and I find that a pain to deal with as well. In the States, your rental, and usually even if you buy a house, it just comes with a refrigerator and those bigger appliances. Sometimes even a microwave if it's built in, unless there's some negotiation. By the way, if you haven't seen part 1 of this series, it has 10 reasons I love New Zealand, so be sure to check that one out after this one. Speaking of renting, finding a rental home that would allow a dog as well was difficult in the 2 areas of New Zealand we've lived. I guess it's just not something that's super common. Finding a rental here is actually not super easy. There's a high demand with the many people coming over here, so when you have a pet on top of that, you're going to have to get a little creative. So I decided to make a little document that I sent with every application with photos of us and Mr. Barkley to kind of tell the owner a little bit about us and give references of people who know our dog or have lived with him before, just to hopefully put their mind at ease that he's a cruisy dog, as he's been labeled here. I think that just means like chill. And even with doing that, 0 in-town houses wanted to rent to us because of him, which absolutely turned out perfectly because both houses we've lived in have been out in the beautiful country and we've loved it. Here's a little tour of our house. In fact, this is Barkley's manifestation totally. So much room and freedom and no squirrels. By the way, would any of you be interested in a video on how we brought Barkley over from the United States? Like the costs and planning and all of that? Just a thought, so let me know in the comments below if you do. Alrighty, number 10. This is the gross one that my partner Brandon brought to my attention, but I have to agree. You can feel free to skip ahead 30 seconds if you're just not in the mood. I get it. So it's the amount of water in the toilet. Don't roll your eyes, stick with me. It's something we noticed right away when we got here, and it's only a problem because, you know, you see like the length to the water, some may argue, is just, it's too long. And that causes a series of issues that you can kind of figure out on your own. Can't you? Just think. Splashing, sounds, sights, you know, the 3 S's of the bathroom. And that's officially the end of that one. And I'm glad I told somebody. Thank you guys so much for being such good sports, hearing all these negative things about New Zealand. If you are from here, no offense meant at all. You know I love living here, we're having a great time, and I have so many good things to say about New Zealand. I consider myself a pretty observant and curious person, so it has been really fun to discover the difference between living here and living in the States, and I am loving sharing it with you. I'm going to continue this series with more videos highlighting those differences and sharing my personal experiences. I really hope they're helpful or interesting to you, and even if you disagree, I love to hear your opinions, especially if you've lived here your whole life and you have more information to share. So keep an eye out for those videos. I will be working on them for you guys. And always, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I make new ones every single week. And if you have any questions or ideas for more videos, please just let me know down below in those comments. I'd love for you to come on this journey with me, and we'll see you next week. Bye. Where the fun music comes out, right? I always jam. Really look, but there are good parts. Why not look at both? But here they still, the problem is me, but I went to a swimsuit. I better do some shopping next time, dude. For some reason, hard liquor